Well, it's the beginning of a new day, and I started with a little bit of work this morning. What I did is I took my mounts that I made yesterday and rounded them off really good. All the edges that are going to be exposed, because I got to tell you guys, I'm a little nervous about wrapping these with fiberglass. They're going to be an absolute booger. But so what I did is I rounded all that, and then I've coated it in resin, letting it soak in really good, mixed it extra slow. So therefore, what that means is I mixed it with a minimal amount of hardener, so it takes longer for it to kick off or to harden. So therefore it has more time to soak in the wood. Now of course we're going to be wrapping it, but this actually helps the stuff stick to it when you get a nice shiny finish to it. So I actually took the gimbal housing and put it back on, because what I'm doing is I'm cutting the relief holes for the steering, because on the back side of this the arm comes off the back right here, and it actually goes back and forth when you're turning the boat. And in the back part of the transom, you need to cut some holes at a 60-degree angle to be able to compensate for that. And I'll tell you, I was really nervous about this. I was scared because I just didn't know how it was going to work out. So to explain a little more on what that is, I just didn't know how things were going to line up, because honestly the other gimbal, or the other transom that I did, was an alpha, and these cutouts are actually higher up. So what I did is I reinstalled the gimbal, put the transom plate in, and traced the actual opening right there for the steering assembly and the outside. And I have a picture of this that I just printed off, and I can't stress enough to take a lot of pictures, guys, because this tells me exactly where I need to drill my holes. If I'd have gone off memory, I would have screwed it up. So these need to be at a 60-degree angle. So what I do is I have my nifty little protractor here set for 60 degrees right there. So what we'll do is we'll put it up here like that, and then we'll grab our drill with an 1 3/4 inch hole saw on it, and we'll go in at a 3/4 angle. Now this is kind of a pain, because you got to make sure you get the drill bit set the right spot, and it's difficult to do. You got to go in at different angles. You could go buy a really deep hole saw, because this one is pretty shallow. It's designed for cutting in cabinets, what I use at work. So it's not 2 inches, and it won't go in, far enough. So we'll probably have to go in at a couple of passes to make this work, and then we'll put the gimbal back on and make sure that the steering arm has plenty of clearance. You might notice I got a little cheapy electric drill. This is 29 bucks at Home Depot, I think, and it'll work for doing the stuff around the house. My DeWalt, I use it too much at work, and I got to a job the other day and I realized I'd left it at home, so you know what? I'll just get a regular drill. Plus, it keeps me from having to charge stuff, so this will work. So I'm going to put this over here and videotape me cutting this hole and see how it goes. Okay. Put this up here just like that. Kind of get me a rough idea of how my angle needs to be. I may have to go do a pilot hole. That's Now, looking upon this, it looks like I may have gone over a little too far. But I'm at the right angle. See what I mean about doing it in stages? Little bits at a time. I broke my hole saw. Oh, nice, Jay. I have to go find another drill bit to replace this. Got me a new one. What it is, I took a regular DeWalt drill bit that was the same size, and this thing has a little set screw right down in here. And so what I had to do is take my die grinder and grind a flat spot for that set screw to sit in. Now we got a new one. Question is, will it work? But I brought me the proper tool for prying out the excess with a screwdriver. Definitely gonna have to trim this up a little bit. I went a little too far over. There we go. I went a little too far over this way with it. It's not a huge deal, but just means that I'm gonna have to do a little bit of Alright, that did it. Nice and easy. We'll clean that up a little bit with the air tool. Grind it down. Now we'll go to the other side and do the same thing. Now I'm going to move in just a teensy bit on this one. Make sure we get our right angle. Dead on. Screwdriver and pop out first layer. You kind of feel when it bottoms out in the hole saw, and that's when you go and you pry the next layer out. That one came out, I mean, perfect. That's where it needed to be. I was about a 1/4 inch too far to the right on this one over here. And I went in a little steep to the hull, so I've got a little cleaning up to do on this one. You can see there's the hole right there, and then it's perfect right here. So, you know what? That ain't gonna matter. I'm gonna get my little air saw in here and trim those off, level them off nice. And once we're all said and done, we'll when I'm glassing in these motor mounts, we'll put some resin on these little Mickey ears here and soak it in really good in this spot. And then we'll also put the what do you call it, gel coat over it. So I'm going to cut these off with my air saw, sand it off a little bit, grind it down, make it look nice and neat, and then I'll go get the gimbal and we'll put it on here and make sure it fits okay. Okay, this is what I mean by the steering relief holes. You see how this opening is right here? This allows this arm to swing back and forth. And if it was where it was before you cut the holes, it wouldn't go lock to lock. You would be able to steer, but just barely. So this allows it to go completely from side to side. So that's it. It's time to start sanding again. I'm gonna sand this entire bilge down. I gotta make a little spot for my bilge and automatic turn-on switch to sit. And also I'm gonna put a sacrificial piece of wood up here. It's gonna be coated in resin for my, what do you call it? Oh God, bilge fan. Ventilation fan to sit, because there was one there originally. I was looking at pictures, so I'll just put a sacrificial piece just wrapped in, that's done in resin, and we'll gel coat it and just screw the, you know, anything we need to do like that. I'm gonna put also, I go in and got the interior for my boat the other day, or yesterday, and I put it in here and I traced out kind of where the brackets are. These brackets need to be screwed into the deck. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually peanut butter a couple of pieces of probably 5/8 inch wood right here, and glue them down, so therefore I can actually just screw right into those, and we'll move the brackets up on those mounting places, and then I can screw into those instead of screwing into the deck. So I thought that was a pretty good idea. Sort of like just like we're going to do with the battery. And actually I'm going to move the trim pump from here over to here, and then we're going to turn the battery sideways. I'm going to put 2 batteries in here, so that way I can have a dual battery setup. Now I may not have one right now, just due to money reasons, but I'm going to at least build 2 battery trays for them to sit on. And the courses are going to go back a little further than we thought. It's actually going to exit, I thought it was going to exit right here, but honestly that's not the good spot for it. It needs to go back there. It's perfectly flat behind this little mounting strip, and it also comes right off of the manifolds here and goes straight backwards like that, so it creates a water flow instead of having to go this way and then back forward. So I've got that worked out. I'm happy with how things are set up. Now it's got to get it all done, right? So turning off the camera, gonna go charge it for a little while. I'm gonna get a bunch of sanding done, get this all prepped back here, and then wash it out one more time. The camera is charged. You can get in here and turn off the fan. And you can see that I've got the engine mounts at least peanut buttered in. I used these little L brackets right here temporarily with little teeny screws to hold it on to the stringer until the peanut butter dried, and then I took it off and then put a fillet all the way around. I'm really worried about how we're going to get up underneath there. It's going to be a real pain in the rear. I got to switch my tent here to bring the shade in over here and then open up this side. So I'm going to move that around. I'm going to go get some fiberglass. Oh, there's where my bilge pump and automatic, I guess you say automatic kicker on her. It turns on the bilge pump whenever the water gets too deep in there. So got that done. I'm just going to put a layer of not 1708. I'm just going to put a layer of chop strand over that. We're going to start with 2 layers of 1708 on this. See how strong it is. May go 3 layers. Not 100% sure. So I'm going to move my tent around and see what we can come up with as far as getting this back in the shade. Ooh, well, they're glassed in. That was a royal butt whipping getting those mounts in. I think that's probably the hardest glassing job I've done yet. There is probably in the seams 3-4 layers. There's 2 layers solid on there, but the way that they overlap, the middle of it, like right there, may only have 2 layers, but where it goes into the corners and overlaps all over the place, there's at least 4 layers. They're solid, really solid. That is really hard to glass. I had to go messy on it, which means I had to pour it into there, and I dipped strips that are probably, this wide and about that long, and I did paper mache on it. Basically dipped it in, squeegeed it out, and then laid it on, and then pressed all the bubbles out. That was the best way I found to do it. That was the only way I could get this stuff to lay down properly and to go around the corners. You notice that I rounded everything, so it was a whipping. This is hard to do when you have the exposed underside, but I wanted to have a through bolt to be able to screw it down. I didn't want lag bolts to this 454. And this is the way it came from the factory, and I see a lot of boats done this way, so that's why we're going to stick with it. So anyway, they're done. I've got the little piece down there chop strand in. I actually put 2 layers on top of it. If that ain't enough 1708, somebody tell me, but it is solid. I mean, solid. Oh man, this is a mess in here, guys. I mean, it is not, you can tell when you got something nice and solid, and it is way solid. That's one thing I can check off the list, but look at the mess in here. I mean, it was gross. I think I went through 10 or 12 of the chip brushes, at least 50 pairs of gloves, and it was a nightmare. You just got to cut it as you're working on it, and slap it in there. So that's done. Let me show you what else I got done today. And sorry I didn't videotape that, but to be honest with you, once I got going, I didn't stop. I went up to Home Depot and got a little wire brush. And I'll show you that sucker right quick. This was God's gift. Now, it was a lot bigger than that when I started. Let's see if I can find another one here. Yeah, it looks similar to this whenever I started. And I put it on my air grinder and went to town on this gimbal. And I tell you, it did the trick. Getting all the corrosion off that I wanted down inside those little areas. The gimbal ring. These are all the little corrosion spots I need to get rid of. So it's done. I'm going to go and wash them really good with Simple Green and degrease this really good. Let it dry in this Texas heat. And then we'll shoot some primer on it. I got to get the bushings changed out in this guy though. That's a must. And in the top here, there's a seal that's up in here and a bushing. Those got to be changed out. I got to decide whether or not I want to do that myself or just buy the tools to do it. I'm going to call around. Problem is here in Texas, all the boat shops are closed on Mondays, so I have to wait till Tuesday to get that done. So tomorrow, I actually got the day off, and what I think I'm going to do is once this is all dry or cured off today, I'm going to start sanding that deck. We're going to get some gel coat down the next couple of days. It's ready for it. Only thing I have left to do is to glue in some of those little tabbies that I showed you for where the seats and everything mount to. We'll get those in pretty easy. I'm just going to throw some chop strand over them just to keep them nice and clean. So I think that's the update for right now, guys. I'm done for the weekend. I still feel like there is just so much ahead of me. Oh, I did start a to-do list, and it's quite extensive. But guess what? I can mark off something today. Install and glass engine mounts. Done. So that's one thing out of all of this. And I mean, I just sat there last night while we were watching some stupid movie we picked up at one of our video rental stores. But you know, make battery trim plates, move trim pump to port. Do I need to extend the wires? Add a second battery mount, gel coat the deck, make bilge pump mount. Oh, guess what? There's another one we can take off the list. Done. Make mounts for seat screws and braces. Oh, those are the ones I was just telling you about. Mount seats, wire for 2 batteries. It's probably going to come a little later on, but at least that's on my list. Drill out steering relief and transom. Look at that. I've got another thing I can mark off. Seal transom holes. Hadn't done that. Order parts for the gimbal. That's going to be our steering. I'm going to get a new lower shift cable. Rebuild and paint gimbal. We're in the process of that. Install gimbal. Install engine. That's a big one. Change gimbal bearing. Replace oil, cinder, and engine. You know, stuff like that. So it's moving along, but there's my to-do list so I don't forget. See y'all next time.